We are going to talk about oxidative and free radical problem, but because there's so much mentioning of this in the dietary supplement field, and I've never seen a free radical, and you haven't either. And this is not an easy subject to try to get across, but I will make an effort to try to make all this discussion about different dietary supplements that have free radical and oxidative damage reversal or prevention. I hope I get it across to you. Thank you. As I stated, this is not, I think, a easy subject to approach for the listener, nor for me as the presenter, because you read a lot and see a lot on bottles about oxidative benefits of dietary supplements and free radical scavenging principles. But this is very important. But like I say, neither you nor I have ever seen a free radical. And all of this activity occurs at such an ultra micro level in life processes, but it's important. Now, I hold in my hand two magnets, and nearly everyone knows that there is a field of attraction and rejection, that if you take these two magnets, you can turn them and they attract to each other and they repel each other. And this is very powerful. And in fact, Tesla figured out, particularly when you turn them and you feel this force that rejects each other, how to use that power to keep going and going in an armature to a motor to make an electric motor work. But the positive charge and the negative charge attract each other, but a positive charge repels each other. And so you're utilizing this on a practical basis every time you go in the kitchen, turn on the mixer, or have an electric fan up in the ceiling. And it's a very common process. And we are not all that aware that the Earth has a magnetic field and that the North Pole is positive and the South Pole is, and that if you doubt it, that birds and fish and whales and butterflies can sense this magnetic field and apparently use it in their migrations of knowing where to go and where they are. And if you fly from here in Dallas to Frankfurt, Germany, you may be kind of discombobulated for about a day or two because you've gone across various time zones and magnetic fields, and you have to adjust to your senses. But as I hold in my hands these two magnetic little bar magnets, you can feel the magnetic attraction and rejection that we're going to be talking about, because I'll give you an example. If this were a sodium atom, it would be positively charged, and a free sodium element dropped into water is explosive. It is very acidic, very acid, and in fact, the lye that will eat meat has a lot of sodium in it, and it's powerful stuff as a free sodium radical. In my right hand, I could say this is a chlorine atom, and chlorine was used in World War I because as a toxic gas that would stay in the trenches and go around and could kill soldiers in the trenches because it's such a powerful plug. But you can take sodium and potassium and you put them together and they will they bind, and lo and behold, you have sodium chloride. And that is a very different substance because it's essential in our blood, in our serum phase for the electrolytes that are in our body. So these attracting molecules can really change the properties of the two free radicals, and it can be very beneficial, like sodium chloride, or it can be very destructive, which we will get into why you want to keep inside the cells from being either too positive or too negative, and to, if you have free positive ions, that's what you call these things when they're not attached to something else. You call it a positive ion or a negative ion, but you put them together and you've got a different type of substance. And this is due to the electromotive force, or it's called EMF. And this is very present and useful, and it's important in the life process. Now, this is the chart for all the elements that we found on Earth, and each one of these structures has a negative electron spinning around a positively charged nucleus in the center, and it creates a force. Each one of these little squares is a stable uh, state of energy. And when I was in residency, if you saw a crystal in the lungs or the kidneys and you wondered what it was, you had a device that you could hit it with some energy to raise its energy level, and that's unstable. And it would put off light that is a characteristic that you had a computer there, that the light was typical for that element to come back to the stable state of the number of electrons that are negative and the number of nuclear bodies that are positively charged are equal to each other, and it's a stable state, kind of like what I was talking about, sodium chloride being two very toxic radicals coming together, making something very desirable. And so everything that we're composed of is involved with energy. And every one of these elements is a stable state of, like the two bar magnets put together to form this thing. Now, the current idea of trying to understand elements at the atom level, that each one of those elements in that previous chart, you have protons and neutrons, which are positively charged at the center, and the negative electrons spinning around it. And for example, for the element lithium, you have a +3 in the center and 3 electrons spinning around it, to the 3 negatives plus the 3 positives. It's stable. And here's fluorine, another element that it's 9 charges that are positive at the center and 9 electrons spinning around it to be stable. And then you got aluminum, which is 13 neutrons and protons in the center and 13 negative spinning on the outside. So every element is a stable little microcosmos of that we can't see it, but scientists have been studying this for decades, and this is the model to try to understand how material things are put together. And I mentioned how the sodium and the chloride were very, as free radicals, very destructive, but together they are essential for the electrolyte. And A similar thing is that potassium chloride, which is potassium is primarily inside the cell, uh, uh, the part of the electrolyte balance, and the sodium chloride is primarily in the serum, and these move back and forth across the membrane of the cell. And it's very important to be well hydrated. You got to have water. Fact is, you can go many days without food, but you can only go many hours without water, because water is very important as part of the life process. Now, iron is one of the very common elements, and when it's in the ferric state, it has two positive charges, but with oxygen it can react and it becomes ferrous or rust. And rust is not as strong as the ferric state of the iron, but we are showing there that the electrons of the uh, iron react with the oxygen to make ferrous oxide. And in the animal, or which human beings are a part of that kingdom, that we have fatty materials in our serum and in our body. And if it reacts with the oxygen, lo and behold, it's just kind of like the iron being turned to rust. You get oxygen combined with the oil, and it's rancid. And the body doesn't like rancid, oxidized fatty materials or lipid materials. And of course, we're talking about, when we say the fatty materials, we're talking about like peanut butter and cow butter, and the mannose itself, the sugar, is oxidative examples. And one of the really incredible things about the human body is that it has anti-rust provisions, or anti-rancid, or anti-oxidation of these oxygen molecules reacting with the biological materials that the body is made up of. And of course, you've got the red cells bringing oxygen around in the blood that can be a source of oxidative reaction with the different substances in the body. But here we have a picture of a cell, and every cell has, as you got that circle around it, mitochondria in it, which is a energy producing organelle in every cell. And the nucleus is primarily positively charged, and you have this essentially organelles inside the cell, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, and the Golgi, that carry on cellular synthesis. But they have to have energy to carry on this synthesis, and that's what the mitochondria do. Now, the mitochondria take energy that's in the carbon-to-carbon bonds that are in, say, for example, glucose, which has 6 carbons in a row. In between each carbon atom is a little bit of energy that was put there in photosynthesis, where energy from the sun hit a chloroplast, and the chloroplasts build up and transfer the energy from the sun to this bond from carbon to carbon. Well, the mitochondria, in taking this bond loose, develop free radicals because there's all this oxygen present in the cell. And this could be deleterious, because these free radicals can, just like this magnets in my hand and being attracted, if there's anything negative in the membranes of the cell around all these organelles, this free radical can attach to it just like the bar magnet. Well, it doesn't function like it did before if this free radical attaches to the membranes. But one of the worst things that could happen is down in the nucleus where the chromosomes are. If these free radicals attach to the DNA, well, the sequence of the molecules in DNA is an instruction code of how to operate and carry out the processes of life, and that modifies the molecules that make up the chain of DNA. And one of the worst types of modifications is the cell becomes cancerous, and it doesn't cooperate with the other cells, and actually tries to get more energy in the body than the other cells, and it doesn't respect their surfaces. If you'll notice on the surface, little spines there. This is cells that respect each other and work together in harmony. Well, this modification of the DNA from free radicals that are generated by the mitochondria attaching to the DNA can cause cancer, as well as attracting to the molecules. Now, before we leave this, one of the incredible things about living cells is this is a image from a computerized microscope down at Texas A&M, and where you have the N there in each one of them, that's the nucleus of liver cells. Well, you can see some slightly greenish yellow things. Well, everywhere there's this greenish little cloud inside the cell, it's around mitochondria. And what we're demonstrating here is the fact that in the genes, there is the program to tell the cell how to make glutathione and dismutase, superoxide dismutase, because the glutathione and the superoxide dismutase binds to, just like this bar magnet, to these free radicals and free oxygen molecules to keep them from attaching to the membranes and altering their function. But more important maybe than that is it keeps it from attaching to the DNA in the nucleus to cause a mitochondria. And so the superoxide dismutase and the glutathione protect the membranes by soaking up or reacting just like a bar magnet with the attraction of the positive and the negative to protect the membranes in the cell so they continue to function properly, and that to prevent mutations by altering the molecules that make up the chains of DNA, which are a code instruction far more powerful than the code that's in your cell phone or your slate or your laptop or your computer. This is one of the things that amazes researchers, is all the information that can be in these DNA chains. That this is very important. And fact is, when someone tries to tell you how over millions of years these molecules got excited and got all organized to make the life process, this is just one very small part of the design of life that is in the DNA to quench or neutralize these free radicals that are generated by the mitochondria when they are making ATP, which is used kind of like a DC battery. In other words, the alternating current that you have in your house or your kitchen is quite different from the electricity that you get from a battery that runs a flashlight. Well, the electric motive force in the cells and in the nervous system are more like the DC current from a battery. Well, I have there a chain of carbons with the little sign there with a little bond between each carbon. And this bond has energy in it that in the process of photosynthesis, the chloroplasts take water and CO2 from what we breathe out from our lungs. All the animal kingdom breathes out CO2. Well, that carbon with two oxygens, the process of photosynthesis transfers energy from the sun to that bond, and then the mitochondria break that bond and transfer it to a phosphate atom, which is particularly negative lectons, and it with the you call it adenosine triphosphate. The adenosine is a positive charge, and the electrons are negative that come from the bond of the CO2 that came from the sun. So the mitochondria, and that the fact that there is programming in the genes to essentially have an anti-oxidative or anti-rust inside the cell, or keep it from being rancid, which is something you can see where, and we particularly say rancid peanut butter or rancid butter from the cow. You say, ooh, I don't want to eat that. Well, the cells are not happy with rancid molecules inside it. And lo and behold, the provision is made in the code of life in DNA to produce these glutathione and this superoxide dismutase to neutralize these free radicals and free oxygen molecules that cause oxidative damage. And this gets involved that it can make the eggs produced in the ovary defective, or even the sperm defective. And you can have a defective birth due to free radicals and oxidative damage. And as we said, also the cancer is caused by this mutation. So this, I think you have to say, how in the world did this come to be? And that in the programming in the code of life that is in DNA, that the assembly line that is in the cell takes amino acids, actually 3 amino acids, to make a glutathione, and it has the property to soak up or react with the free radicals or the free oxygen that could cause damage to the membranes and to the chromosomes. And this is, I hope I have allowed you to have a little better understanding of why so often you hear that this is an ingredient in the dietary supplement that is made in plants that is utilized to neutralize these loose ions that have a positive or negative charge that can react with the structures in the cell, and it's damaging. And this is the end of what my effort to try to get across to you, the importance of having dietary supplements that have ingredients in them that support the process to make glutathione and superoxide dismutase and other molecules that react with free ions that either negative or positive charge that will attach to the negative ion will attach to a positive structure inside the cell, and a positive free radical attached to a negative charge on some structure inside the cell. And this is not healthy. And having in your diet nutrient molecules that support free radical and oxidative damage reversal and activation is extremely important. And I hope you understand these terms a little better about the importance of this as being in your diet.